Hello and welcome back. If you missed part one, we explored three foundational crisis leadership capabilities: clarity of vision, self-awareness, and the power of situational leadership. These are the anchors, and today we're going to go deeper into what happens when the human element is tested in crisis, when people are scared, when energy is drained, and when there's no precedent or playbook to follow. And if you're leading through complexity or burnout, these next capabilities are non-negotiable. So let's move on to the fourth capability. Let's talk about the power of soft skills. And when I think about soft skills, I think about emotional stability, empathy, and adaptability. And these are no longer nice to haves. During COVID, they became the connective tissue that held teams together when values, mission, and strategy were not enough. Take Chuck Robbins, CEO of Cisco. In a moment of global confusion, he led not just with authority, but with presence. He didn't retreat behind prepared statements. He showed up, on screen, on time, every week. He talked about burnout, about uncertainty, things which really matter to folks. And most importantly, he listened to his employees and took action. Cisco didn't just survive, it retained talent and built trust with its workforce, and led the sector in employee well-being. Then there's Brian Chesky at Airbnb. Airbnb lost 90% of its bookings overnight, and layoffs were unfortunate, but inevitable. But Chesky didn't hide behind PR teams or shareholder scripts. He wrote a heartfelt public letter. He explained the why, and he owned the decision for layoffs. And he backed it with meaningful support, severance packages, job placement help, and genuine care. He treated people, not like numbers on a spreadsheet. Empathy wasn't a talking point. It was the delivery mechanism of excellent crisis leadership. Because in crisis, soft skills aren't soft. They drive hard decisions and hard outcomes. Let's move on to the fifth capability, leadership as a stabilizing force, because in a crisis, people aren't looking for a superhero. They're just looking for someone who shows up, someone predictable, someone steady, someone who doesn't make the team guess what's coming next. Jim Fitterling at Dow Chemical understood this. At the peak of global supply disruptions during the pandemic, he didn't wait for clarity, he created it. He communicated often, he communicated clearly, and he kept Dow focused on purpose, even pivoting plants to manufacturing personal protective equipment and prioritizing frontline safety. He made stability part of the leadership routine, not just the message. Ed Bastian at Delta made a bold and rare move. He promised no furloughs for frontline workers. That decision wasn't just about cost or customer service. It was about stability. It also essentially told every employee, hey, we're in this together. He didn't make that promise and disappear. He stayed visible, he stayed present, week after week after week. And in New York's hardest hit hospitals, Dr. Stephen Corwin of New York Presbyterian didn't send emails, he showed up in person. He asked questions, he checked in, and he reminded people that leadership doesn't always come with perfect answers or even answers per se. Instead, sometimes leadership just shows up in the hallway. Because in crisis, visibility isn't optional for you as a leader. It's part of the value that you bring. The sixth leadership capability I want to talk about, and this is perhaps the most important one, so thank you for staying on. Crisis as an opportunity for growth, because crisis can make you bitter or it can make you better. And when you have a look at the leaders who thrived during COVID, they did not just respond, they reframed. They didn't ask, when are we finally going to get back to normal? They asked, what's next for our company, our organization, for our business strategy? IBM under Ginni Rometty accelerated its transformation, moving from legacy hardware to AI, cloud, and hybrid infrastructure. And that wasn't just a pivot, that was a reinvention. Shopify leaned into digital commerce when stores shut down. They went remote first. They expanded tools for small businesses so that they could more easily and better sell online. They met disruption with innovation and met the moment. And Netflix didn't just shift into streaming, they led it when it was risky, before it was obvious. And here's something I saw firsthand. In March 2020, a global CEO I worked with didn't grab the reins tighter, which would have been quite a natural reaction for many leaders. In fact, he did just the opposite. And he did that by identifying 3 priorities for every leader across the company to follow. The priorities were employee safety, followed by serving customers, and thirdly, financial performance. He also said something I won't forget. He said, "We're not an or organization, we are an and organization." And he made the point that while leaders should strive to achieve all 3 of those goals at the same time, he realized that trade-offs were going to be inevitable. But these were the priorities, that he would own the financial outcome where leaders prioritized safety and customer service. And that single message massively empowered the leadership team across the world because this was a global company. It was now clear that they didn't need to check in with headquarters on every decision they had to make, and they were able to move fast. They protected people, they looked after customers, and delivered under pressure. From these examples, you can now see that these were not just cases of organizations surviving, but actually evolving their strategy and culture for a post-COVID world. Let's bring this together now. Soft skills aren't extras. They're part of the critical infrastructure of real crisis leadership. Stability isn't passive, as we saw. It's a message, one that your team reads in every move that you make and everything that you say. And crisis doesn't invent new leaders. It reveals them. Because crisis puts pressure on systems and on people. And in that pressure, it shows us who we truly are and what kind of leader we're capable of becoming. If this video resonated with you, click like, share, or subscribe, and stay tuned, because in our next episode of Risk Resilience and Strategy, we'll explore a fast evolving challenge, artificial intelligence and risk management. Artificial intelligence isn't just coming, it's very much here. And the risks and rewards and opportunities it brings to business models and to governance and compliance and decision making, it is breathtakingly fast. So we'll talk about how to lead through uncertainty in a world shaped by intelligent systems.